Hey friends, welcome to day 29 of our 31 days of watercolor practice. Today we're going to be taking our favorite flowers that we have painted and we're going to create a beautiful floral border. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, we are getting close to the end here, but we're still having so much fun. We are continuing with our florals, and today I'm going to show you how to create a floral border. Now, you can choose whatever flowers you'd like to do. If you'd like to do your 1-minute flowers, you could do that. If you'd like to do your layered transparent flowers that we did at the beginning of the, not the beginning of the month, but the beginning of our floral series, you can do that. Whatever you'd like. But we're going to be doing it around the page. This is a really beautiful way that you can create a card or a painting piece for your house. But I want you to choose whatever method you like to create your florals and do that. So tomorrow's video is a bit more about composition. I'm going to lightly touch on it right now because we're going to do a little bit of a floral border and I'm going to show you a couple tips on how I go about that. You can have the flowers all the same size and color if you'd like. Keep it simple. But one thing I do like to do to create a little bit of, I don't know, interest to my work is to have somewhat of a focal point. And this also goes for if I'm doing, say, a wreath. I could have the flowers all the same size and color going around, or I can have one focal point. And I tend to do it either like in the bottom or top corner, depending on how I want it to look, like if it's cascading down, or in a wreath, if it looks like a little chunkier on one side. And when I do that, I tend to pick one flower that is kind of the focal point, and then some flowers that are a little bit more like they're complementary flowers. So I like to work in odd numbers. It looks better. It's more appealing to the eye. So what I'm going to do with everything we've learned, we're working with different values, really picking a nice color palette where they complement each other to kind of give you a certain vibe that you're going for, whether it's warmth or coolness, and then balancing it all out. So I'm going to do my typical loose florals. I'm starting off with this peach color, and I'm going to do a larger, looser flower. I'm using my size 2 round for this because I'm doing some smaller flowers, and I'm just going to create a flower over here in the corner. And this is going to be more of my focal flower. Okay. And like I said, I like to work in odd numbers. So numbers of like 3 or 5, which I will explain a little bit more tomorrow as well. It's just a little bit more pleasing rather than if you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just when it's too symmetrical, it doesn't look right. So I'm going to go back in a little bit more with my pink here. I'm going to tap it in the center. Maybe just do a couple lines while it's still wet, like so. And then I'm going to do 2 more flowers to either side to balance it out, but also creating kind of that asymmetry look. So they're not going to be the same 2 small flowers. I'm going to have them kind of complementing each other by balancing them out. So I might have a bigger one over here. Maybe I'll do a more rounded, like peony. Like this, and this is kind of like a medium size. Okay, trying to work with a lighter value and then can add some darkness later. Like that. And then I'm going to change the color slightly, maybe make it a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to do another flower over here. I'm just going to make it smaller though. Okay, and this is going to be kind of like the focal point of our border. Now you can make it detailed flowers if you'd like. If you'd like to draw it out first, you could do that. I want to keep it a little bit more on the loose side. Then obviously we need some greenery. So I'm going to show you how I add some greenery within these. I like to go in between the flowers and just create a little bit of greenery. So these two, just so they're connected by something, have some little leaves popping out. Remember our lighter washes as well. We want some contrast. We don't want it to all be super dark and heavy. Have some kind of framing over here. And this is one of the focal points of our border. Okay, and you can decide whether you want it top corners or the other bottom corner, totally up to you. Then I like to space out my flowers and leaves just so you have this more focal point here. If you wanted to frame it a little bit more evenly, it would still be asymmetrical. Like I wouldn't suggest doing another chunk of flowers over here where it's bottom heavy, but I might suggest, you know, doing something similar over here so it frames it nicely. There's still that asymmetry because we have one at the top and bottom, but it also helps balance it out. So if you wanted to, you could do another chunk of flowers here. I'm also trying really hard not to go over my 10 minutes. I want you guys to enjoy this, but I also don't want to make it too long. Okay, so here's our big flower. Add some of our pink to the center. Maybe change up the colors a little bit more if you want. Maybe this one could be a bit more pink heavy. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. But again, we're working in that the three flowers. Like that. Then maybe a little bit more yellow. We'll do a little bit more of a rounded one, like so, and then pop in our leaves. Okay, so we have the focal points. Now we have to start moving around the border to make it look interesting. Okay, and kind of more complete, right? I'm just finishing up some of these leaves. So there's so many ways you can do this. But because I want to have these focal point areas of like the chunkier flowers, I'm going to do, and I would do the same thing with a bouquet, or not a bouquet, sorry, a wreath. This is hard because I put that down there. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to do little kind of stems, like little sprigs of stems like this, where you can branch off and create little bits of leaves if you like, but also you can create little flower buds as well. So you want to continue those flowers kind of going all the way around, but you don't want it so heavy on the florals, okay? So you can have some smaller ones there. And these are really just loose blobs. Okay. Maybe have a slightly bigger one over here. And then you're just going to fill in some of that white space with greenery. And you can obviously change up the greenery too. And I'm really just using the tip of my brush to create these leaves. Like that. Okay. You can even do like, you know how we did those delphiniums before? You can have those color bleeds that we practiced. So maybe do a couple little smaller buds and then go with your greenery and have them bleed into those little buds like this and have some like more stockier flowers kind of going up. Okay, so you're just going to fill the border with these little sprigs of leaves and loose florals. So I'm going to finish that so you guys can watch because this will take a little bit more than 10 minutes. But have fun with your color palettes. Use the floral techniques that you've enjoyed. I have done a border where I did all those transparent flowers from our day. I can't remember which day it was, but doing a border of all of these florals is also a really beautiful option too. So play around with a couple different options and have fun. Okay, and there we go. There is our border. If you want to, add any different kinds of greens in there to make it pop, you definitely can. Some other colors, even like little, sprigs of like tiny little pine needles or twigs, or honestly, you could do whatever you like. My biggest tip would be to have the vine kind of going all the same way, so it's really it just flows a lot better, so they're not all sticking out. And when you're doing your leaves, never have them kind of like sticking straight out like a straight line. Always curve your leaves and your stems. Okay, I'm gonna do a version of what you shouldn't do just to show you. But if you have a stem kind of coming straight out like this, see how like straight and rigid that looks? Think of a V. You're kind of going up on an angle, and it just looks and flows a lot better. So try not to have it sticking straight out to the side. Always curve it with the flow of traffic, of the way your thing is moving. It just makes it look so much better. I'm gonna try and fix this. Just a little bit of a curve. Okay, always curve your stems. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I can't wait to see your floral borders. If you want to write a positive quote in the middle, you could always do that and just have fun. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. See you guys tomorrow for our next video. Have a great day. Bye.